Hello and welcome. I'm Jedite83, better known as Jedite, better known as Michael, and this is my Pagan vlog. Check out my website, wiccan.pw, and today I want to take a few minutes to, as a cyber mage, share my opinions on the so-called Metaverse. I know in my corner of the Pagan community there has been a lot of people who have been making a big hoopla about the Metaverse, and I think it's a great idea, and I think it has the potential to be a terrible idea. And I want to take a couple minutes and just share my thoughts on the matter. I'm going into this assuming that you have at least some shred of knowledge on what the Metaverse is. It's been all over the place lately. So I'm assuming you know something at least. So let's start with what is the Metaverse. The Metaverse is, some are calling it Web 3.0, although Web 2.0 and Web 1.0 aren't really a thing. They're just marketing terms to describe how user interactions changed over the years. It's supposed to be where we move from the web as we know now into like virtual reality based internet, or augmented reality where maybe you wear glasses or something and it overlays information to the real world. Video games like Pokemon Go are really good about that. It is not the same as technological singularity, where we have actually transferred our consciousness and our minds into a computer, although it sure feels like it's a step in that direction. And personally, I am for technological singularity. I think it'd be one of the greatest moments would be certainly one of the greatest moments of humanity if we ever do develop such a thing. So that is what they are saying the Metaverse is going to be, though, is where we can start living our part of our life just virtually, or augmented reality. On its own, I have no objections with that. I think that would give us, and when I say us at this point, let me say the Pagan community, it would give us new ways to interact with our community, which tends to be spread out, and it tends to not necessarily have the greatest way to communicate amongst ourselves. It would give us new ways to practice our beliefs. The global pandemics over the last 2 years has certainly encouraged people who would never have thought about practicing online or on Zoom or things like that. It is, I think, encouraging people who wouldn't have to look at it and realize it's not necessarily a bad thing. I know the pandemic has, for me, helped. It has encouraged me to use more and more technology in my practice, which has addressed some issues with Wicca for me, where my issue with Wicca has always been, well, I think the underlying belief structure is fine. It feels very agrarian. Our holidays are based on farming cycles and things like that, and I'm not a farmer. I've seen a farm, probably been on a farm at some point. I have never grown anything in my life. No, that's not true. I actually have grown a few plants, but I am not a farmer. Why would I want to base my whole beliefs around farming? So those are holidays I've always had to work around. But that's neither here nor there. That's a thing for a different video. It feels like the global pandemic has encouraged us to bring Wicca into the 21st century. And when the pandemic's over, I do wonder what will happen. Again, something for another day, though. The Metaverse has the potential to not only bring us the Wiccan faith and paganism as a whole into the 21st century, but to give it a foothold where it will stay. Um, it's going to give us new ways to communicate with our community. It's going to give us new ways to practice our beliefs with people. I do rituals with the Corellian virtual circle, being a follower of the Corellian tradition myself. And I've been able to practice with people all over the country thanks to Zoom. And these are people I've had a wonderful time practicing these rituals with them, and full moons, and the new moons, and the Sabbaths. And these are people I would never have even met, let alone been able to practice with, if it wasn't for the internet, and Zoom specifically. And the metaverse has the potential to give us more of that. Why just chat with somebody where we could just have little windows of people talking to you when we can just talk face to face through our avatars? That I like. But with all the good stuff that the metaverse has to offer, and there is a lot that I'm just not even mentioning, because there's just so much that's being offered by the people who are promoting it that doesn't even exist yet, let alone I don't even know if they have a plan to do it. But I have concerns about the metaverse too, and my concerns are fairly big. I know a few hardcore proponents in our community who've been very vocal about it, who just want to brush this off. These are legitimate issues. First off, and I think it's the biggest issue, is the players and the motivation. The big players, the people who are really, the companies who are really pushing the metaverse, seems to be Facebook, now called Meta, and I am just going to call them Facebook for the sake of convenience in this conversation. I've seen Nike once again, and the people who make shirts and shoes. They're going to be a metaverse company? What? That makes no sense. Microsoft, and I'm going to be honest, I'm surprised I've not heard Amazon come up yet, but I'm sure it's a matter of time before they figure it out. These companies, I do not believe, have the user's best interest in mind. And this isn't just me being wildly speculative. They have an established track record of this. Facebook's the one that seems to be going all in. They've even changed their name to Meta to show they're all metaverse. They certainly, I do not believe, have our best interests in mind. They see the metaverse as just a profit margin on a spreadsheet. I believe that what they see the metaverse as being is a way to sell Oculus Rift products, since they own Oculus Rift, a way to, why just have you for a few minutes here and there a few times a day when they can have you all the time? Give you more reason to just keep being plugged into their ecosystem, collecting that much more data about you. We know Facebook wants your data. They want to control, they want to be everywhere in your life. We see them not just on their site, but everywhere across the internet where we see those little Facebook thumbs up, like this article buttons. Well, that's pulling from their server, and now their server's tracking you across it, building them a bigger picture who you are, more data that they can sell to advertisers for some of that, money that they're all for. And I have no issue with that money, but just how they go about it. If you follow Facebook, you understand where my concerns are from. Even Facebook, went all in on the metaverse is going to be great for everyone. Then they go to the their stock market people and say, yes, the metaverse is the next frontier for advertising. And that's what it is for them. It's not something that's going to help the world. It's something that's going to make them more money. That is their motivation. Another player you have is Nike. What? Nike. Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't Nike people who make shoes, and shirts and sports goods. I don't picture them as a technology company. Everything about it for me feels like they've just seen this as a new place they can be a sponsor, a new place they can slap their logo and make a buck. They're not building anything, they're just capitalizing on it. Microsoft, I have very similar concerns as with Facebook, honestly. Is this something they believe will help the world, or something that'll sell them a few HoloLenses or whatever they call their headsets these days? It's another company that does want to collect big information on you. And I said I was surprised I haven't seen Amazon in the game, and there you go. Same issues. Facebook, Microsoft, and Amazon, these are companies who built their model on locking you into their ecosystem. They don't just want you, like, to use Facebook. Yeah, they want you on their Facebook website, and to make it easier, you got your Facebook app. But why just have you on Facebook when they can also be your sole communications app? Why have text messaging and all this other stuff? Get rid of that and install your Facebook branded messenger. And what's the other one they have? WhatsApp? They want to be everywhere. You want to interact on the internet, you go through them. And Microsoft has tried this in the past with things like MSN Messenger. That's an old one, if you recall that. I haven't touched that in 20 years. Another concern I have for the metaverse, and this is regardless of which company builds it, is that it's going to be exactly that. It's going to be built. The internet is great because it grew and evolved organically. People built networks. People figured out ways to network networks together into bigger networks. They connected intranets to bigger intranets through internets. That's where the word comes from, is internet is just a network of networks. The World Wide Web, which is the web pages we visit. The World Wide Web and the internet are not the same thing. The internet's an underlying technology. It's what links everything together. The World Wide Web is how we present information on it. Email is technically separate. FTP, SSH, all this is technically separate technologies from the World Wide Web, all using the internet as the layer that connects it all together. If you're not a computer person, you want a little more understanding, I would say look up the OSI model. You kind of might understand where I'm talking. The difference between the application layer and down to like the physical layer and the link layer and the bottom couple, where connections happen. The internet's great because it grew organically. People wanted to improve something, so they built what was needed. Whereas everything about the metaverse sounds like some people in marketing and some engineers sat around a table and said, let's build this. And it feels less like it's going to grow organically versus it's going to be a product that is sold to the consumer. And if it's free, and I've heard some people say, it's going to be free to connect to once you have the equipment. And yes, the internet's not free itself. I still have to own a computer or a mobile device. I still have to pay a company to connect me to it. But I don't have to buy Google as a separate product. I don't have to buy Facebook as a separate product. I don't have to buy YouTube as a separate product. And I think that's exactly what they want to do with the metaverse. Is this is a product that they're going to sell over the internet. Which means their goal is not to see it grow and evolve and to be something great. It is to make a profit for the shareholders. And when that's your motivation is money over building something, you're going to see things that happen very differently. And things that could be really awesome, just it's not profitable enough for us to do it, so it's not going to happen. The internet's nice. If you want to build a web page, you don't have to go through a gatekeeper. You can do it. Yes, you will have to buy your domain name, but that's it. You can technically set up your own DNS server. You can technically set up your own web server. You can do everything on your own. I actually have done this in the past where I've run everything. Currently, all my websites, well, right there it is. I run my own server. I used to have the actual hardware in my office. Now I'm renting rack space elsewhere just for convenience and better stuff. But you don't have to. You can build your own thing. My concern is going to be that the metaverse, it will be a product you purchase, and any customizations to it is what they give you. You're not going to build a house. You'll buy a house, and here's some pre-packaged furniture you can buy in our online store. Just drop your credit card in the box. And get some Facebook tokens or whatever they're going to call their in-game currency. Another concern I have about the metaverse is there going to be one metaverse, or is there going to be multiple corporate branded metaverses? Here's the nice thing about the internet. Well, one of many nice things about the internet is, okay, where I live in Central Florida, my internet access is through a company called Xfinity, which is owned by Comcast. If I decide I don't like Xfinity tomorrow, I can tell them to shove their modem up their Ethernet port, and I can go to AT&T, or I can just use my cell phone from a ton of different carriers. But no matter which company I pay to connect me, I am connecting to the same internet. It is the same internet. All I'm doing is changing who provides me the physical layer access. If you've been on the internet for a few decades, I want you to cast your mind back to the ancient year of, I don't know, the late 1990s. Do you remember Instant Messenger? What I'm going to say, it does still apply to direct messaging and messaging on services like Twitter and Facebook, but let me specifically talk about how it used to be. There used to be messaging programs. You sign up for your account on your whatever network, and you install their little program and chat with your buddies, right? But there wasn't one. There was many of them. And most, if not virtually all of them, were not compatible with each other. So you had to have several of them. Oh, you want to talk to your friend, but he's on MSN? You have to have an MSN account and the MSN Messenger installed. And you can chat through him for that one. Oh, you want to talk to your other friend? Oh, well, he's not on MSN. He's on Yahoo. So you have to have your Yahoo account and your Yahoo software and chat with him on that. And, oh, you got your friend over there on AIM, which is AOL's Instant Messenger. Yeah, America Online used to do that. Well, guess what? You're going to have AIM and their program and this and that. And it was fragmented. Now, there were some programs that came along, third-party ones, like Trillion comes to mind, which it didn't really solve the issue of fragmentation. It just gave you one client that could connect to all of them. ICQ, I want to say IRC, but no, I think they actually have ways they can network those together. I didn't use IRC enough to really know, so I don't think that's quite one of the guilty. But that's the problem is, you have all these individual ones. Are we going to see that with the metaverse? Are we going to have a Facebook metaverse, which is completely incompatible with your Microsoft one? So you want to hang out with your friend on the Microsoft metaverse? Oh, I'm sorry, you bought into the Facebook one. No, you can't do it. Nope. The internet has the ability to do this type of crosstalk. But are the companies who are building the metaverse motivated? Do you think that Facebook wants to make it easier for you to go to their competitor? No, they want to lock you in. They want you in their environment. A few years ago, we would have called it an ecosystem. Now it's the metaverse. It's a way to lock you in and hold you here. Why? We don't want you over here giving them money. We want you here giving us money. And I think we're going to see exactly this. And Metaverse has hardware requirements from everything I've seen. It's not just, oh, you're going to pull up a Metaverse website. No, it's virtual reality. So you're going to need, so if you're on the Facebook one, you're going to need your Facebook, your Oculus Rift headset connected to your computer, and you're going to have your account on that. And you want to go talk to your buddy on the Microsoft one. Oh, I'm sorry, you've got to go buy all the Microsoft approved equipment and buy into their system at a cost. And I'm sure there's going to be some adopters who have no problem financing that. But for average Joes like me, you're going to have to pick one, and that's the one you use. Oh, your friend's on the other one? Oh, well. They should have bought something else. You should have bought something else. But you're already financially invested. You're not going anywhere. And this, of course, brings up the issue of so-called walled gardens. Younger people probably do not know what a walled garden is, because there aren't many of them out there. I'm not talking a garden with a literal wall around it, like what was that movie back in the day? The Secret Garden. I'm not talking that, but it is it is the same thing, but I'm not talking a literal garden. Do you remember? Older people, younger people will have no clue what I'm about to say. I'm sorry. Do you remember when AOL first came out? It was not the internet. AOL was originally not the internet. I remember watching TV shows, and Unsolved Mysteries is the one that always comes to my mind because it was back in the day. You could visit them on the internet at unsolvedmysteries.com, or you could visit them on AOL at keyword whatever the heck. I think it was just Unsolved Mysteries. Why do you need a separate keyword on? It's not a search term. AOL, the online experience AOL gave back in the day was not the internet. It was their own competing product. They were building their own private internet that only their users could see to compete directly against the internet. And here's the thing, if you're on the internet, you could not directly access AOL. If you're on AOL, you couldn't easily access the internet. You had to pick one. And I could be wrong. This was a long time ago. I think Prodigy did the same thing. There's a few others that try to build their own competing internet. So you want to check out your favorite internet page. Oh, I'm sorry, you're on AOL, but it's on the regular internet. You don't have access. Now, over time, they realized that this model sucked. And walled gardens like that did go away. There are some, I know there's a few ISPs that still offer to turn the whole internet into a protected walled garden, usually for like, they make the think of the kids argument, but it is just they're building a family-friendly walled garden. So it is still out there, and I think this is what these metaverse players may do. You can pick which garden you're in. It's going to be Facebook, or it's going to be Microsoft, or it's going to be whoever's. And from there, that's your experience. Oh, that company's innovating all their metaverse stuff. Oh, but you invested in this one. Sorry, your provider has not decided that is something they're going to explore. You're locked out unless you want to buy multiple. Is Metaverse going to be a subscription thing? Don't know. Right now, all Metaverse is big, wild promises and buzzwords. But do you see anything? No. They're changing their names. They're slapping logos on things. Metaverse. Where's the goods? I don't want to hear the talk. I want to see the walk. Where's the goods? There isn't anything right now. And there's something that I've been seeing in this community, and it is, and by this community I mean us pagans, and it is driving me insane. is like one person. I won't say names here. The day Facebook changed their name to Meta, and this person went online screaming, "It's the first day of the Metaverse! Look at all this new stuff." The Metaverse is old. The term Metaverse and the basic concept goes back to a book from 1991. There have been companies in the 90s and the early 2000s who were building what we would now call the Metaverse. Remember the game Second Life? Popular back in the 2000s? Like 2000, 2010, 2000s. That was, by what we would call it today, the Metaverse. This isn't new. What we're seeing now isn't new. It's a billion-dollar company has decided this is profitable, so we're going to act like we invented it. Not a new business model there either. So this isn't new. This has just become popular again. And I'm saying so much bad stuff about it. I think the Metaverse is a great idea. I think the companies that are pushing the Metaverse may not have our best interest in mind. That is literally everything I've been trying to say for the last 26 minutes. Metaverse is good. Companies building the Metaverse are maybe. But a lot of these issues can be addressed. We can prevent things like walled gardens by building open protocols that they all use. Make it so I can interact. If I'm on Facebook, if I'm using Facebook's Metaverse implementation, I should be able to talk to my friends over on Microsoft's. I mentioned the instant messaging war. Oh, hello, focus camera. Sorry, my camera doesn't always like to focus. I was talking about how instant messaging was not compatible. You had to have, a dozen different messengers, but there was no reason they had to be incompatible. There are protocols like XMPP, I believe it is, that could have made it compatible. They just made a business decision and chose not to, because that is where they thought the money was lying, was by locking you into their ecosystem. You would go market your friends. And the effect was everyone used everything, and it was, and we switched at will. Oh, this one's not pleasing me right now. All right, I'll go chat on the other one. They didn't get the manufactured vendor lock-in that they wanted. And the Metaverse has the potential to either be a massive vendor lock-in or not. But every issue I brought up is addressable. All of it. Develop and use protocols that allow Metaverse implementations from different vendors to work with each other. This shouldn't be something that's tacked on after that. This should be baked in at the beginning. Let the average Joe be a creator. And when I say create, I don't mean let me buy my little pre-manufactured meta house and some furniture from the store. No, let me create. I should be able to write code and implement my own stuff. I know more than a few people who use things like Wix to build a website. That's fine if you have zero coding ability. That's fine. It'll hold your hand. But the thing is, you don't own it. They own everything. You might own the thoughts and the words, but you sit in their ecosystem. You don't own your stuff. Let me, as a creator, code from the get-go. And it looks like, at least to some degree on the periphery, the Metaverse will allow that. I'm actually working on a project right now that will create a virtual VR-style sacred spaces for the pagan community. This shouldn't... What I'm saying here is the technology and the stuff that's going to build up the Metaverse should not just be controlled by a couple of people. Let the average Joe build stuff. Let us all contribute to this global community. Because if it's not a global community and we're not building it all together, then we're buying a prepackaged product from a company. Kind of loops back to that. And I think if the pagan community is going to thrive on the metaverse, and I think we have the potential to thrive in a way we have never seen before. The internet promised us everything. When it came out in the 90s and the early 2000s, when it really took off, the internet was an object of unlimited potential, and it has lived up to that in many ways. It has also failed us in many ways. But that's beside the point. The fact is, the metaverse is the next evolution of that. It has nearly unlimited potential. And if it's going to meet its true potential, we all have to be players in it. We all have to have a stake. We all have to have the ability to contribute to it. If the keys to the kingdom is locked up behind a corporate facade and all we get to be is the end user of a product, we're not creating, we're consuming. Like, let me put an example this week, because I don't think I'm explaining this. If I am, I'm sorry, I'm being repetitive, but this will be my last one. Think about television. Television is a one-way medium. Corporations broadcast to you. You consume, they create. YouTube turned that model around where we could all be consumers, just like we can all be creators. Some creators definitely have higher skill levels and ability than others, but we can all do it. Seriously, if you've never done it, you can go on YouTube right now. If you have a webcam and a microphone, and actually most webcams even have a microphone built in, and you can go make a video. Maybe it won't be as slick as some of the other ones out there, but you can do it. And you can develop your skills, you can develop your base, and you can get better. We can all, if we can all create and we can all contribute to this, that is how the metaverse will thrive. And this might be an unpopular thing that I'm going to say, but I think if pagans are going to truly thrive on the metaverse, a group that we need to talk to and we need to befriend is the hacker community. Now, as a disclosure, yes, I'm part of the pagan community. I do also have much interest in the hacker community. And when I say the hacker community, I don't mean the criminals out there, stealing your credit card. That is a very small fraction, and those are technically crackers anyway, not hackers. There's a C, not an H. But think, you like going on the internet, right? Well, the first modems, the first devices that consumers could get their hands on to get on the internet, and it wasn't even the internet, it was just computer-to-computer connections. This is even before the days of the BBS. Those were hackers building this stuff. The internet has been built by hackers, thinking outside the box and finding new solutions to old problems. And discovering new problems we didn't even know existed, and then discovering unique solutions to that too. And if we are going to thrive, and the metaverse is going to grow, and serve our community, I think the hackers can teach us a lot about thinking outside the box and creating things from scratch, especially when there aren't pre-manufactured packaged tools to do it and you're building this as you go. The metaverse does have a lot of potential. And us cyber mages need to get on this right now. It is still so early. We are at the ground floor. Maybe you're not going to be able, maybe you don't have the skills to knock out your own do-it-yourself Oculus Rift and build from scratch. That's fine. Build, create something, contribute in some small way. Maybe in the grand scheme of things, you're just sticking your handprint on a cave wall in the grand scheme of things. But hey, it matters. And don't let yourself get caught up in corporate hype and marketing buzzwords. Think for yourself. Learn. If you're the kind of person who is not comfortable with learning technology, you're going to get left behind. Learn. It's not hard. I know so many people, and I hate to say it this way, they're on the older side, who, oh, I'm too old to learn that. That's too hard. That's too complicated. No, it's really not. It's you have chosen. You have chose not to do this. It is hard because you have made it that way. Computers and technology are probably the easiest they have ever been to use. It has the lowest bar of entry. I remember back when I got started with computers, when I started my own first computer, which would have been the late 90s. I was born in 83, and this is probably the late 90s when I had my first computer. That was mine. I paid my money, and it was my hardware. It would have been running... What was it running? Probably Windows 98, maybe? Kids have it easy these days. You want to plug your camera into your computer, just plug it in and it's done. Back when I started, first you had to turn the computer off, plug it in. Yeah, you could not hot swap. You had to cold swap your connector, so you had to turn off your computer, turn it on. Okay. Install a bunch of software. Oh, did you lose the disk? Sorry, it's never going to work again. It's just that way. The bar of entry was so high. The learning curve was so steep. Nowadays, you pull it out of the box, you click it on, it'll ask you for your email, and you're off to the races. You have a camera you want to plug in, just literally plug in the USB connector, and you're done. The computer will figure out the rest for you. Do you know when the last time I had to install a driver was? Do half of you people even remember what... I'm sorry. I'm assuming that you don't. I'm making an assumption there. I apologize. Do you recall having to install drivers, though? Oh, you want to put your sound card in? You put your sound card in. Now you got to load the software so the operating system knows how to use it. Heck, do you remember back when you had your game... before drivers were a thing and the game had a package itself? You bought a game, you flip it over on the back. Okay, the audio is only compatible if you have this brand sound card, usually a Sound Blaster. If you bought some other brand, I'm sorry, your game just doesn't have audio because your game didn't come packaged with the software to make that card work. Installing drivers at the OS level, all that, and that's how we got, I think that's the hardware abstraction layer. There used to be a lot. Computers, even 20 years ago, 2001, which would have been, I think that would have corresponded with about the release of Windows XP. Just before XP, when you were still running, most people would have still running 98, you would have seen some 2000 and Windows ME, the Millennium Edition, which was a lot better than a lot of people give credit for. I liked ME, even though it gets a lot of shit from people, but that's beside the point. Computers were a lot more difficult to use. Things we take for granted today didn't exist. Some of it wasn't even a twinkle in an engineer's eye yet. They hadn't even thought of this stuff. Technology, the bar for entry of technology has become so low. We can all learn it, and we can all contribute to the future of technology in some way or another. And if the future of technology is the Metaverse, that we all need to be contributing to that. We all need to be slapping our cave painting up on the wall. Whether or not it'll stand the test of time is irrelevant. We need to start building this as a community. This is something with unlimited potential, and we need to make sure it keeps that ability of unlimited potential, and that we help it, we guide it to its full potential. We don't let corporate interests lock it up behind a profit margin. And this is something we can all do. This is something I can do. This is something you can do. I'm already working on this. I am literally building a virtual temple where you and others can go stand in the forest or in an ancient library or something and do your sacred circles. And I'm doing this on my own. I am teaching myself all this as I go. And it's not expensive. My total financial investment is $25. Technically, I didn't even have to spend that. I bought some pre-manufactured assets from an artist because I'm currently building in Unity, and it was just easier than me coding my own stuff. I didn't have to spend that if I didn't mind doing some of the work myself, but I've already got so much other stuff I'm learning that was something I just didn't want to learn right there. So I spent $25 to buy on humblebundle.com to buy a bunch of assets that I knew if I'm going to use for this, or I'm going to use it for one of my other projects. We can all contribute. I'm starting to do my part. What can you do as a cyber mage? And as a member of the online community, what can you do to shape the future of our technology? I apologize if this thought was a little anti-corporate. I certainly do have some anti-corporate beliefs. I think corporations have the potential to do good. I think they have the potential to do horrible. And the metaverse is sitting on that knife's edge. Which way is it going to go? We have the ability to say so. Thank you for tuning in. I keep saying this in my videos. I promise I'm going to get back to my old script of just pure educational content. This is the kind of stuff I've been needing to say, so that's why I've been turning out these type of videos. I promise I'm going to try to do better and get more of like the stuff I had started this channel with, but I expect to see both. If you want to check out my website about Wicca, wiccan.pw. That's it. Just type that into your browser. When I do eventually get my virtual sacred spaces, I'm calling it the virtual temple right now, that is where you're going to find it. If you like this stuff, though, give me a thumbs up. Go ahead and subscribe. It helps. I don't ask you for money. I don't put ads on my channel. And if you are seeing ads on YouTube, that's not me. That's YouTube. I used to try to monetize my videos, and I gave up years ago because it just wasn't worth it to me, and I don't think it gives you anything to you. Thank you. Stay safe, stay healthy, and until next time, may you blessed be.